Hello, my name is Chris Nays, and this is the Ritual Disc Flip Podcast. This is a podcast where I like to talk about music, talk about shows I'm going to, talk about albums, do deep dives into records that I've grown up loving, and I hope that you've heard some of my previous shows, but if you haven't, welcome to the show. It's been a minute since I have put up a show, and I feel like I have some explaining to do, whenever it's been so long. And, there's a lot of news and stuff that I have piling up here, so I might as well put out something. And, it's not just good news either. There's potentially bad news, so I feel like I should probably front load it with good stuff, and then we can dive into the potentially bad, and then maybe come out on the end of this with a little bit of good. I don't know. I'm just going to roll with it and go through everything that I have stacked up here. So you're probably asking, like, what is happening with this show? Why has it been 2 months? Well, I've been more busy the past few months than I have been in a really, really long time. I started this show as a way of expressing myself and talking with other people about the stuff that I love, and it was a way of sharing time in my time off from my obligations of work and all of that life stuff to just have fun. And I have found less and less time to be able to do that. So, what have I been doing instead? Okay, so first off, the thing that was taking up the most of my time from probably November to the beginning of February was the Irie reunion. Irie is the band that I played in for several years, from about 2004 until 2012 or 13-ish, somewhere around there. We did a reunion show at Foo Bar, which, rest in peace, Foo Bar, one of the best venues here in St. Louis for bands like ours. The Irie rehearsals were an addition to my normal schedule of rehearsals with Tape History, as well as prepping for recording, and also recording with Tape History during that time. So, in addition to working a lot of 6-day weeks, I've had to rehearse with two bands for about 3 months, maybe 2 months. It's something like that. Recorded. Well, okay, so we played the Irie reunion beginning of February. After those many months of rehearsals, it went awesome. Lots of people came out. Everybody had a good time. I feel like I played those songs better than I had ever played them before, and that is kind of what I took away from it. And I'm not rolling out another Irie show sometime in the future. Also want to say congrats to Tony Hall, bass player of Irie. He's going to be touring the Netherlands at the end of this year, which is completely insane, with Nick Gussman and the Coyotes. So, as I mentioned, also recorded drums in studio with Tape History. That's sort of been at a standstill because we are getting ready to play a show March 13th. That's a Friday at the Heavy Anchor. That's in 2 weeks, so would really like to see some people who listen to this come to that. So with the current band project, recording and prepping for a show, that takes up at least a few hours every weekend that we can squeeze it in. I'm also currently doing podcasts every once in a while with Debbie over at Watches on the Couch Castle Rock. So if you're missing the sounds of my voice, you can go over and listen to those, where we talk about all things Stephen King. And I'm having a lot of fun with those. We're getting ready to do a breakdown of the Dr. Sleep Director's Cut Blu-ray. You'll be able to hear that soon. We're planning on recording that this week. So just go over to Watches on the Couch Castle Rock and subscribe now so you can hear that when it comes out. So all of that stuff has kept me really busy and has kept me away from doing this show. Sometimes this show kind of like falls down to the bottom of the pile when I have all this other stuff I prioritize in front of it. As far as, fun project stuff goes, that's all aside from, having a life or having a, doing stuff with Lindsay, seeing my family. I don't know. So, good news. A bunch of good news as far as stuff that goes in line with the topics of this show, the music stuff. I have a lot of things I can talk about in the near future. So let's go down the list. I'm going to be going to a bunch of shows soon. First of all, next weekend, we are going to Kansas City for Opeth. In the lead up to that, we're going to be visiting with some family and friends in Columbia, Missouri, and then hopping over to Opeth in Kansas City on Sunday. So, really excited for that. Don't even know who's opening for them, if anybody is. Gonna have to look into that. Opeth is a really, really good band. They're, as you may have heard on the last episode, I ranked their record as one of my top of last year. I'm really hoping they sing the Swedish versions. That would just really make it a choice show for me. And I'm introducing my friend Clint to them. I think for the first time, I've sent him some links to music, but he's never seen them live, so that'll be interesting to see what he thinks. A deluge of concert announcements and things the past couple of weeks that I feel like I need to mention because I got tickets to all of them. Of course I did. So Rage Against the Machine and Run the Jewels announced the tour together. Total shock. Did not see this coming. They've announced their shows near the southern border and at some big festivals, but I figured it was going to stick to that because that's been their MO for a long time. Every 6 years or 7 years they do these big festivals and then they go off and do their other things. So first North American tour in a really long time. First time they've played in St. Louis probably since 1997, I want to say. I was going to go see 2000-ish, they were supposed to play a show here with the Beastie Boys. The tour was already booked. Everything was good to go. And then one of the Beastie Boys injured himself biking on the streets of New York City. So that tour was canceled. And then I believe the last time they played here was on a tour with the Wu-Tang Clan, and Wu-Tang canceled. I think Old Dirty Bastard no-showed or something like that. I don't know exactly what happened with that show, but Rage played alone, and it was before I started going to shows. I was 11 or 12. So Rage is returning. I was discussing this with a coworker and with my dad yesterday. Rage is not a band to ever half-ass a show. They're gonna absolutely bring it hard, and there's no way that show will not be amazing. So it's gonna be great. I don't know if I should even bring up the controversy over ticket prices and stuff. None of that. It's all rabble, and none of it matters. It's taking away from the point, which is everyone should just be excited to see a band in top form. That's it. If you're willing to pay a higher ticket price so that charities can take away something for, then that's what it is. I never feel like those guys in that band would ever take advantage of people for the sake of money. I don't think that I think they're in a position now where it doesn't even matter. Like they don't come across. It's a weird thing because you never really know how genuine people are, because the media portrays a lot of bands put out like a facade of like, this is who we are. And you don't really know beyond that, right? Like back in the day, the only way you would even know what bands looked like is if they put it in the album sleeves, or you went to a show. And then there were some rock and roll magazines. But beyond that, you didn't really know much about the bands. Now, with the internet, there has to be like a story behind every band or person in the media, and it's just weird. Like as soon as the tour announcement went up, people started tagging them for putting on shows for money. That's what every band does. So, but if it's Rage, then you can attack them because there's money involved, and they talk about capitalism and that sort of thing. So I don't know. It's for you to decide what you think about it, not for me to tell you, right? But what I'm telling you is I just want to see a band play really good music when they're going to be at the top of their game. There's no way they would play the show if they weren't. And it's in my town. It's like, how could I not go, right? At least that's my attitude towards it. Faith No More announced a tour with Korn and Helmet, and then Darren from System has a solo band who's playing on some shows, but not the St. Louis show. Faith No More also hasn't been here since around the same time that Rage was here last. Both Rage and Faith No More are bucket list bands for me that I've never seen live. And within a week of each other, they announced that they're coming here. It's completely insane to me, honestly. Totally unexpected, but welcomed. Faith No More actually, along with Rage, two of the first bands that I ever jammed music of with Ian, who's in tape history, and my old friend Josh Van Ness in my the house I grew up in. I had the basement room, and we would cram all of our equipment in there and jam. We started with like only a couple of songs, Bulls on Parade, and let's see, We Care a Lot, and Gentle Art of Making Enemies were the songs. From the Bell Tolls we added, and I don't know. I mean, it all grew from those. So if I guess like if you're wondering the genesis of me playing drums, it's those songs. So to get to see Faith No More as well is going to be great. The tour is, I feel like it's a weird pairing, but if you think about it, it really isn't. Korn only came on the scene, a few years after Faith No More, and I feel like promoters would pull in a little bit more recognition from Korn, and they have toured more across America. So they need a double bill in order to make sure that tickets sell, because I don't know that Faith No More necessarily has the name recognition. It does for like the diehards, but of course, like, you need a wider audience for big shows like this. Faith No More, I mean, very clearly in my mind, they're one of the best bands of their era, and the music has not really, like, a lot of bands, their music ages, and when you go to try to listen to it again, it's not as vibrant as it once was. It doesn't mean as much to you. I mean, case in point, Korn. I'm sorry, but it hasn't aged well. I don't go back to it. I don't have any vested interest in continuing to support them. I don't really get much out of what they did or what they do now. And it's just a matter of taste, of course. But Faith No More, across the board, even the latest record they put out a few years ago, actually, especially that one, I get a lot out of it. I still enjoy it. I revisit it a lot. I buy the records on vinyl. And as soon as this announcement was made, I'm like, I'm going to pay whatever I got to pay to get the best seats that I can get. So Josh and I are going to that show. Oh, I forgot to mention, at Rage we got lower bowl, and it was an insane buying process. Those tickets got bought up immediately. I'm not sure about the Korn Faith No More, how those are doing. I'm sure it's doing fine, right? But it doesn't matter because I already got mine. We are center in the seats. I don't even normally buy seats at Hollywood Amphitheater. I just don't. Most of the time I'm fine with the lawn. I would rather be a little bit closer for this kind of show, this special show. Another show that was announced the same week as Faith No More this week was Primus. Primus is playing a new venue here in town. It's an outdoor, sort of smaller amphitheater kind of place. I think it's going to be really similar to where Jimmy and I saw Primus in the Ozarks. But I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but they're going to be playing all of Rush's A Farewell to Kings. Certainly one of Rush's best records. The Rush community is kind of like split on, whether it's going to be great or not. I think that more centers around less and his vocal style and people not really understanding that, like, dude, why can't we just have fun with it? Why can't we just like go and see a band that toured opening for Rush on the Roll the Bones tour? Why can't we just enjoy that a band is going to pay tribute to their heroes as well as ours? Also, they're playing two sets. They're playing a bunch of Primus and then a bunch of Rush. So, like, if the Primus fans are complaining, they'll just leave, and then we will be there left together, a bunch of Rush fans and a bunch of Primus fans at the same time, and let's just enjoy it, because this is maybe the only time this is ever going to happen, right? And I think the fact that they opened for them, they actually planned this tour before Primus planned this tour before they were asked to join the Slayer farewell tour or whatever. So they planned this even before Neil passed away, which I haven't even mentioned that. Haven't done a show since Neil passed. I'll touch on that a little bit later. But yeah, so they planned this last year. It didn't happen. Neil passes, and then now they're going to do it. Getty gave his blessing to Les about it. Now it's going to happen. Oh, did you hear the train? Now it's going to happen. And it's it's really interesting timing for this. I don't think that they're doing it just to profit on a heightened awareness of Rush's music and legacy and that sort of thing. I'm really excited for this. I got Floor. I'm not even sure who's coming with me. I just bought 2 tickets, and we'll see what happens. Lindsay's a big Rush fan, but I don't know if she'll want to stand up for that long or whatever. So we'll see. This is going to be a really unique experience, and that's, like I thought a couple years ago when Jimmy and I saw Primus, that, man, after seeing that, I don't know if I need to see them again. But then bands come back around, and you're like, oh, well, I gotta go again. So you change your mind immediately. It's weird. Let's get into some other stuff on the horizon, though. That's sort of the run of the shows I have tickets for. I'm sure there'll be other local shows and stuff, too, that I may or may not end up discussing on here. Rumors of a new Iron Maiden record are abound. People ask them pretty consistently whether or not they have stuff coming out. Bruce is doing like a speaking tour where he does a cappella versions of some Iron Maiden stuff. That's awesome. There's footage of that online, of course. People have asked the drummer Nico, and he has hinted at, like, hey, just keep watching the website. So I don't know what that means. People are saying that it's been already done and wrapped. There's a producer who they've worked with before that said he spent time working on a secret project. Everybody thinks it's that. So we'll see. I'm obviously very excited for that whenever that comes down. Book of Souls was great. I've seen them live twice since Book of Souls came out, and they were 2 of the best shows I've ever seen. So, who can't be excited for Iron Maiden? If you aren't, you're kind of crazy. Because they're great. But I'm biased, of course. Other new releases on the horizon: Lamb of God with a new drummer. I wasn't crazy about the song they put out this week or last week. It was fine. I think there's probably going to be better stuff on whatever the album ends up being called. Megadeth is rumored for new stuff. I did like the last thing they put out, Dystopia. I haven't really revisited that much though, but particularly the drumming on it was good. I'm not a big fan of Dave, like as a person. So, you know, if you can get past that, then uh, Megadeth is, they still bring it pretty hard. I don't know. They're an album by album basis for me. Like I didn't really like the stuff they put out before Dystopia, so we'll see what happens with that. Anthrax, they always are challenging themselves to make new music that is interesting and melodic and that sort of thing. They've pretty well grown on the last couple of records, and I expect more of that. Mastodon, of course, whatever they decide to put out is worth checking out. Love Brand's drumming style. He just flies around the kit. Last Power Trip record was pretty damn good for a thrash record, and or for like a fairly newish sort of thrash band. They had riffs, man, and that's what a lot of times with metal bands, like at the end of the day, it's about their riffs. So really interesting to see what they're working on. Black Dahlia Murder, their last record was really good. Sort of changed my whole idea of what that band was, and a lot of cool solos and all kinds of cool stuff going on there. So, again, what are they going to do next? I believe they put out a song as well that I only listened to once, but I need to go back and check it out to see what I thought about it. Hatebreed, always a band I sort of keep my eye on. Don't necessarily love everything they put out, but you gotta at least give it a chance. Back in the day, I really loved Perseverance, and all the stuff they put out before they were major label. I don't know. They put out a good, decent few records. So any band that has that much good music, I give them a chance every time. Every Time I Die, man. First of all, their guitarist is on AEW wrestling every week in a prominent role. He's one of the biggest guys on their roster, and it's crazy to me that Andy is killing it on there. But and they have a podcast. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but the guitarist and another wrestler have a podcast where he's been talking about how he got super into King Crimson, and that sort of inspired him to write riffs that were way outside of the box of what Every Time I Die normally does. And of course, they played their own festival in Buffalo this year, as they do every year, and all the diehards come out for it. Now they pair that with wrestling shows there. I just am totally intrigued by Every Time I Die, and I feel like they definitely don't get enough credit in the metal community. I'm not really sure what that's about. However, I myself am very excited for their next album. I really liked the last one, Low Teens. I kind of like, if I'm just looking to put on something heavy that I know will be consistently heavy, Every Time I Die is always like a choice band, right? So that's going to be awesome. No doubt about it. Last couple records coming out. a re-release of Rush's Permanent Waves, the 40th anniversary of that record. Maybe my favorite. Certainly has some of my favorite songs on it. Certainly some of the best songs they ever put out. Um, a whole live disc is being put out with that one. The version of Jacob's Ladders from the Keel Auditorium here in St. Louis. I get a little kick out of that. I love that. Let's see. There's a lot of extras in there. They did an Abbey Road remaster that's going to be on vinyl for the first time. I think once I finish with this, I'm going to go and order that because I've, for some reason, put it off so far. There's new art by Hugh Syme. It's just awesome that record is loved as much as it is, even outside of the diehards. Like, it was embraced fully upon release, I should say. I got this book for Christmas that's a tourography book. Very detailed. It's called Rush Wandering the Face of the Earth. The official touring history. If you are into the band as much as I am, it's an absolute must buy. Lots of cool stories and tidbits. Any interesting show that they played, they go into great detail about. Very cool. And finally, Transatlantic, a very niche band. It's a prog supergroup that I'm really into. I talked about them on the Morse Fest episode a lot because there was rumors that Transatlantic is going to play it this year. They still haven't announced that. I really believe that Lindsay and I are going to be going back again for that. I don't see why we wouldn't. That album is going to be really, really good. Whatever it is, it's going to be good. I know it. And that's it for, stuff on the horizon. So, a lot of really good stuff there. But, we got to take the good with the bad. So here's the potentially bad news. I'm questioning whether or not I want to continue doing this show. And I got a few reasons that I've sort of been tossing around in my head. The show's not really growing as far as like listenership. I don't really get a lot of feedback on it. There's not a lot of listener interaction. I'll make posts once in a while and I'll get like a couple of people. Most of them have been on the show already. I like you guys and I love that you want to talk to me and that sort of thing. But I would like, if I'm going to invest time and money into this, I want it to grow beyond what it already is. Another reason is I'm pretty inconsistent about it, and that is to the detriment of me wanting to grow it. I wish I had more time for it, but like I said earlier, it kind of like falls down notches of priority list, and then before I know it, it's been 2 months and I haven't done a show. I'd really like to have here's another thing. I would really love to have other people on here to talk to me. But with such little time available and odd hours of my schedule, it's incredibly difficult to accomplish that, So all of that stuff together, it makes it really hard for me to prioritize the show and for to see it going into the future for a long time. I try not to live that way most of the time about anything really. Like I like to keep my options open. I like to just from day to day figure out what I'm going to do, but and just kind of be able to go with my gut whenever I'm called to move in a different direction. But this is the thing where like if people are interested and want to hear it, I'm depriving them if I don't do shows for months at a time. And then when I don't, they forget about the show and then they care less about it. So, if you want to talk to me on the show, if you care about listening to it, I'd like you to drop me a line and let me know if I should continue and why you think I should. All of the previously mentioned shows and bands and albums on this episode are potential talks we can have in the very near future. I'm interested in talking about all of that. If you got a band that you're particularly passionate about that have missed out on and that I've never mentioned, let me know about it. The next show I'm going to do, of course, is the Opeth show and weekend breakdown. I don't know how extensive that breakdown will be. I'm keeping it wide open at this point, so we'll see. Also, after that, we'd love to do a show talking about Neil Peart. I just finished rereading his Ghostwriter book. Can't recommend it more. It's very, very good. Very emotional experience reading that. And I've been on the hunt for magazines paying tribute to him. I don't understand why it takes so long for bookstores to put out, these magazines that have been available online for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then they're still not on shelves. It's fucking weird. And it's frustrating. But I'd love to do a show talking about him. I have one person in mind, but I don't know if you'd want to. I like to keep it open though. I would really like to talk to anybody else besides me just rambling for a long time by myself. It's not as fun as you can imagine. I like to talk to people about music and not just sort of empty my thoughts out. Yeah. So there's a lot of potential for things in the near future, but if things remain how they are and I barely have time enough to get done with everything outside of this show, I'm not sure that the inconsistency, the lack of interest of all of that necessitates me wanting to or is this show wanted? Is this a thing that people look forward to? Is it the most excellent thing that I could be doing with my time? All of that those are all question marks that I have in my brain. So anyway, I love all of you guys. I'm going to end it positive. I love all of you guys. I like that you spend your time with me in your ear holes. And I want to hear from you. So contact me on social media, wherever you see fit. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, or email me. And, until next time, I'm going to have fun at Opeth, and I'll let you guys know about it soon. Goodbye.